Good morning, everybody. How are you? You're getting so big. Well, you're getting so big. Who's this guy? Hey there, Billy Kemp. What a beautiful morning. We're getting this garden put together piece by piece. Ways to go, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Get my 6. Good morning, everybody. The sun's just now coming up. Doing my morning walk around here in my robe and my Crazy Lake t-shirt, and taking you with me this morning because I'm actually getting your 6 by making this video. I was nearly scammed twice in about a 10-day period, and now that I know that what I experienced was a potential scam that I just didn't fall for, I want to share what happened to me with you so that we can hopefully prevent a similar occurrence with you, because we found out one of my wife's friends actually did fall prey to these scammers. So I'm going to tell you the story as I walk around this morning and check out, see how everything's doing. It's spring. I'm excited because everything's budding and blossoming, and seeing honeybees regularly now, and I've got multiple honeybee traps out trying to catch some wild swarms. But check this out. Isn't this beautiful? One of my favorite trees, favorite types of trees, the eastern redbud. We got these everywhere. This one, 10 feet tall. We planted them when it was probably 18 inches high. So I'll show you some of the growth of some of our trees. People often ask about them because a lot of you folks were watching this channel 5-6 years ago when we planted them. You'll be amazed at how much they've grown. So here's the scam. I know that's why you're here. Not for the chickens in the gardens and the trees. That just adds for a lovely backdrop. So first and foremost, let me say this. I can only control what I say. I can't control how you take what I say. So if I come across as a cold, callous, heartless SOB, you're wrong. You're wrong. Let me tell you, I learned the hard way as far as charity goes. Charity does begin at home, and my home includes me, my wife, my kid. It's just we live in a world where everybody wants you to be charitable, but then when you need charity, there's not always people there for you. And if you've ever ridden a plane, which I know most of you have, one of the first things they tell you when they're talking about in the event of an accident, which I always thought was crazy because it's like, look, we're 10,000 feet and this thing goes down, we're dead. I know it. But they always say when the oxygen mask drops, securely, fasten your own mask. Make sure that your mask is on before you start helping others. Because if you try to help other people with their mask, even if it's your kids and stuff, and then you run out of oxygen and you pass out, you're not going to be helped anybody, right? So it's really the same with finances. If your needs aren't met and you're struggling to pay your bills, you probably don't need to be helping other people paying theirs. Just saying, okay? And one of the hard ways I found out, I spent nearly 10 years living in third world countries, and I was mobbed in the beginning for handouts, and I was dumb enough to give them. And then when I found that I didn't have my needs met, no one cared about me, nobody wanted to help me, it was a tough lesson in learning how to say no. Learning how to say no repeatedly and forcefully and meaning it. And just basically, once I started saying no, I didn't have any problems. And nobody got bent out of shape about it. They thought, wow, this guy's not as dumb as he looks, or he's not as dumb as we thought he was. Because listen, they don't, whatever, scam time. Here's what happened. So, God, what a beautiful morning, no? I love the sound of the birds. So I'm down here now in the man-made forest we planted 5-6 years ago. We'll walk through here. So my wife and I were at the grocery store almost 2 weeks ago, not quite. And we had an entire cart of groceries. So we get in line, there's nobody in front of us. And my wife was lingering back somewhere looking at some other stuff. And I start taking the groceries out of the cart, putting them on the belt, and they start moving up the belt. Well, these two women come up behind me. One was probably 35-ish, one was probably 60-ish. They may have been mother and daughter, might not have been. All right. I'll show you when we get closer. They're bigger than they look, trust me. And you can see these eastern red buds. We've got them planted. We've got like a whole row of them here. Aren't they gorgeous? Look at that. So beautiful in the spring. So I'm unloading the groceries onto the belt. And these two women, they have like, and they're dressed in some sort of Middle Eastern attire. And they put like a loaf of bread and like a block of cheese on the belt. And I thought maybe they thought I was finished. Maybe they just didn't notice that my cart still was like full. So I pushed their stuff back to the back of the belt, and then I kept putting my stuff on, and the cashier kept running the belt, and it kept coming down. So they just stood there and they just watched as their loaf of bread and their block of cheese flowed into my groceries. And I look at them, and they're just acting like they don't notice me looking at them. But they clearly did. So I took one of the separators, the bars that separate your purchase from the people's purchase behind you, and I stuck that on the belt. Yeah, we're down here close to the road, hence the reasoning why we planted this privacy hedge. We don't want to hear the traffic or see the people. Nothing against them. Just don't want to see them or hear them while we're at home. Want to be left alone at home. So anyway, I put the thing down there and I pushed it back, and still, as I continued to unload my groceries and the stuff was coming down the belt, they just stood there and let their stuff get right in the middle of my stuff. Well, I didn't know what was going on. I knew they knew what they were doing, but I didn't know what they were doing. And so I just chose not to acknowledge whatever it was they were doing. I just kept pushing the stuff back. And by this time, Dearly had come, gotten in line, and man, you got to see these trees. Look at these cedar trees. These things were only chest high, if that, when I planted them. And now, I mean, they're over 20 feet high. Look at this. I'm like in a thicket. Watch, here comes a car. See if you can see it. Barely. Can't even see it through the first row. We've planted 8 rows of trees. You give this place another couple years, you're not going to be able to tell our house is here from the road. It's wonderful. So, Dearly saw what was going on, and listen, she knew they were up to something. So we were bagging our groceries. It's one of these places you got to bring your own bags, bag your own stuff. Well, they got their stuff, they paid for it, and they were trying to walk through. She just stood there. It's like she was at, okay, you didn't notice my husband unloading our cart. I don't notice you trying to get by me. And they looked at her, gave her a dirty look, and she just didn't acknowledge them. They finally went around. And so we got out of the store, and I was like, what do you think that was about? And she goes, I don't know. She says, they're probably trying to get you to pay for your stuff. I'm glad you didn't do it. And I'm like, yeah, I did. I'm glad I didn't either. And I said, but, you know, if they were in need and they would have asked for help, it might have been different, you know. But what they were doing was just kind of very passive-aggressive and rude, almost as if they just assumed I was going to say, oh, wow, look at you. You got an issue. You got a need. I'm going to, you know, help you out here without you even asking. So, our fruit orchard is about 30 yards away. Let me show you this. I'll come right back to it. Look at those guys over there. If you look into the top left of your screen, you'll see one of those honeybee traps I was telling you about. And there's a bunch of deer hanging out in the fruit orchard. Sorry, girls, it's going to be about another 3 months before you got any fruit over there to eat. Leave those blossoms alone, huh? Or there won't be any fruit for anybody. It's easy to see why I like to do this every morning, huh? Just walk around, look at the wildlife that like lives right here with us. Figure out if I'm going to run 5 miles here in about 20 minutes or so, or bike for an hour. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Either way, can't go wrong. So, about a week goes by. It's just a few days ago. We're back in the same grocery store. Yes, we're creatures of habit, just like these deer over here that visit our fruit orchard every morning. Well, we see the older of the two women walking around the store. She's carrying a loaf of bread from the bakery and a block of cheese. And she comes up to my wife. We were a few feet apart, and she hands her a card written in English. It says something to the effect of, times are tough. I don't have any money. I'm hungry. Can you please buy this for me? My wife just says no and then steps away. Well, she comes up to me and she shoves this card in my face, and I look down, and by this time I know and I just said no. And I move away. Well, a few minutes later, I'm ready to go back up and pay at the cashier. So I move my cart up, and I see that woman's head there in line. And I'm like, well, maybe I should wait here for a minute. And then I think, wait a minute, I'm not hiding from some little old lady in a grocery store. It's time for me to check out. I'm checking out. So I go to push up, checking out. Well, just as I get to the line, I see that she's leaving, and she's pushing an entire cart of groceries. Now, when I'd seen her just a couple of minutes before, she had a loaf of bread and a block of cheese, just like she had the week before. But this time she's pushing an entire cart of groceries, more than I had, out of the store. And I just noticed some guy there, I don't know, mid to late 50, Caucasian guy, just, looking down, shaking his head. And I'm thinking, okay, what's going on here? There's an association here. I don't know what it is, but I took note. I noticed it, right? I'm very observant, hyper vigilant, actually. So what I didn't know is that when this woman approached us with the card, after she left my wife took a picture of her, and she's in this group chat with a bunch of her Filipino friends. They're always talking about stuff, and she sends this picture of this woman with this card in the grocery store, and she's talking to me, and she says, I'm just curious, does anybody know this lady? And she shared a little bit of information with them as far as, what had happened over the last couple of weeks. Well, one of her friends actually didn't know the woman, but had fallen for the same thing at a nearby Walmart about a month ago. And what he said was, it was a guy, a Filipino guy, said that the woman, there were two women then at the time, so it was the older woman and the younger woman, approached him, but they didn't have a card. They spoke perfectly good English, and they said, we need help buying some milk for our baby, but we don't have any money. Can you help us? Well, the guy, big heart, wanted to help. He said, sure, I'll help. They said, okay, so you'll pay for it. He said, yeah, I'll pay for it. He said, go get your milk. He says, I'm almost done. I'll meet you up at the checkout line. So he gets up there, and the cashier is there. There's several lines. He goes to the line the women are in, and the cashier said, are you paying for their stuff? And the guy says, yeah, here, put it on this card. He hands him the card. So she rings him out, hands the two women the receipt, and they hands the guy the card back, and it was like $250 worth of stuff. Well, the guy didn't say anything. They left. They pushed their cart out, an entire cart worth of stuff. But he was like, okay, they said they needed milk, but they ended up buying $250 worth of stuff. And he had the money. The guy, he does really well for himself, smart with his finances, but still he felt like he'd been taken advantage of. And as those women left, and he got to the cashier, young lady said to him, she said, look, I don't want to tell you that what you did was wrong, because I understand you did it out of the kindness of your heart, and you felt that these women were in need, but you just got scammed, and you're not the only one they've done this to, and they're not the only ones around town doing it. You need to learn to tell people no if they ask you if you'll help them with their grocery purchases. And the cashier went on to explain to this guy that what they're doing, these two women, she's seen these very two women do it before, as well as other folks in the area who are doing it. They're loading up their carts with $200 to $300 worth of stuff, and they're just lingering in the grocery store. They're going around with their cards. They're carrying their loaf of bread. They're looking as, pathetic as they can look, and they're asking for people to help them, and they're finding several people a day. So the people are paying for their purchases, thinking they're going to be buying these people some milk, but they end up buying them a couple $100s worth of groceries. These people get the receipt, they push the groceries out of the store, they wait 10 or 15 minutes, and then they turn around, they go back into customer service, and they return it all, and they get cash back. This is what the cashier told my wife's friend, who texted her after she sent the picture. And so she said that you've got an option. If you pay with a card and you go to customer service, you can either get the money returned to your card, or you can get cash returned to you. And she said these people are getting cash, and they're doing it multiple times a day, and they're doing it every day. So I wanted to tell everybody this because I know, like us, like most people, the majority of you who watch these videos have good hearts. You're kind. You want to help people. But at the same time, that's not helping someone in need. That's becoming a victim or falling prey to a sociopath. I mean, anybody who acts like they need help that they don't, or maybe they act like they need a little bit of help because they do, but then they see that you're kind enough to give them an inch, so they then take a mile. Those sociopaths, they're scammers, they're dishonest, they're thieves. But this is a way, I guess, these folks have figured out a way to do these things, be sociopathic, scam others, get what they want, and not have to face any repercussions. They're out there doing it. They're doing it every day. And pass the word to your friends and family so that they don't fall for it themselves. That's my story, and the sun is up all the way, so I think I'll go with a 5-mile run. Thanks for being here with me. See you for more next time.